Welcome to CBR. Robert Reynolds, the Sentry and the Void, will become a part of the MCU with the upcoming Thunderbolts movie this year. Today, let's see how much you know about his origins in Marvel Comics. Bob, as he introduces himself in the trailer for Thunderbolts, he is an extremely powerful character in the Marvel Universe, first appeared in his own comic series, Sentry #1, published in 2000, but everyone completely forgot about his existence. Do you know why? In 1947, a few years after Steve Rogers took the super soldier serum that turned him into Captain America, a group of scientists started working on a stronger serum in what was called Project Sentry. This initiative was a collaboration between Canada's Department K and the United States Operation Rebirth. The goal was to make a hero at least 1,000 times more powerful than Captain America, someone with the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns. Robert Reynolds was a young man struggling with substance abuse who broke into a lab one day looking for his next high. He stole and consumed the Golden Sentry serum, which gave him extreme powers such as molecule manipulation. In fact, the molecules of his body themselves became slightly out of sync with reality, which enhanced every natural ability imaginable and gave him some unique superhuman features. In a 2010 storyline from the Dark Avengers series, it's revealed that Bob killed his friend and the lab's guards when he exploded like 1,000,000 suns, and that he later returned to the lab to ask the scientist responsible to make more of the serum for him. This addictive side to Bob's personality is what first awakens and feeds the Void. However, Bob is a good guy, deep down. Once he saw himself holding such impressive power, he immediately leaned towards helping people, ushering in a new era of superheroes. After being mutated by the serum into one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel Universe, the Sentry fought against villains alongside the Fantastic Four, the Hulk, and the X-Men. He quickly deduced Spider-Man's secret identity and became a role model for Peter Parker. Super intelligent since taking the serum, Bob was an equal to Reed Richards and they became best friends. He even fought Dr. Doom with the Fantastic Four a few times since 2001's The Sentry, Fantastic Four. During his time as a hero, he also recruited a young sidekick called Billy Turner, also known as Scout, and he established a headquarters in Manhattan known as the Watchtower. It was also during this time working as a superhero that Bob encountered his worst enemy, the Void, who debuted making many victims in a fatal attack he orchestrated in New York. While the origin of the Sentry is pretty clear, the comics don't fully clarify how the Void came to existence. In Dark Avengers, it's presumed that the Void is an evil cosmic entity who bonded with Bob Reynolds when he took the Golden Sentry serum. We do know that the villainous illusionist mastermind has facilitated the awakening of the Void through the implantation of a mental virus in Bob's mind, which was ordered by another villain, the General in New Avengers #10. When Bob realized that the Void was a dark alter ego of the Sentry, embodying all of his tragic characteristics, he worked with Reed Richards and Doctor Strange to erase his own existence from the world. While carrying the Void highlights the darkness within Bob, his selfless sacrifice to save the world from the Void also emphasizes how good the Sentry is. We've seen Doctor Strange erase people's memories of Peter Parker and Spider-Man No Way Home, but what the Sentry did was much more extreme. Bob became unknown even to himself, forgetting all about his own history as a hero. In the 2001 series, The Sentry vs. the Void, we read about how Bob's memories started slowly returning around the time he reached middle age. This allowed the Void to come out, and Bob had to restore everyone's memory. He later erased himself from the world once again in the 2005 New Avengers era, considering it the only way to keep the Void dormant. However, subconsciously, Bob transferred his mind into the comic book writer Paul Jenkins, who wrote books based on the Sentry's repressed memories. By the way, Jenkins' cameo in New Avengers #7 to #10 is one of the greatest uses of meta-narrative in the history of Marvel. It was only when Emma Frost of the X-Men helped him that Bob was able to fully recover his lost memories and make the Void disappear for a while, which also happened in this New Avengers series. The Sentry was once again seen as a superhero, and the Stark Tower was turned into his old Watchtower in New Avengers #10. At this point, the Sentry joined the Avengers. The New Avengers from 2004 Marvel Comics included Captain America, Iron Man, Luke Cage, the Sentry, Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, and Wolverine. After the Sentry sided with Tony Stark during the Avengers Civil War, he joined Iron Man's government-sanctioned Avengers team in 2007's Mighty Avengers #1. While he thought the Void to be gone since Emma Frost's telepathic help, it was in the second Sentry series, Sentry Volume 2, that Bob managed to fully face the nature of his alter ego. With the help of a psychologist, he was able to identify the root of his attachment to the entity and seemingly kill the Void by throwing him into the sun. However, of course, he wasn't dead. The Void resurfaced in the Dark Avengers era. Norman Osborn manipulated the Sentry into joining his Dark Avengers team, then gave him more of the Golden Sentry serum to hook the Void. Bob became increasingly controlled by the Void, who in turn obeyed Norman Osborn. When Osborn launched an attack on the Asgardians, the Void destroyed Asgard and killed Ares, the god of war. After battling against Thor and the Avengers, Bob resurfaced from within the Void and asked his friends to kill him. They initially refused, but Thor apparently killed the Sentry when the Void came back. Thor threw the Sentry into the sun to keep his body from regenerating in the Siege series. Yes, once again, it was only an apparent death, and Bob returned. He was resurrected by Uriel and Iman, who are known as the Apocalypse Twins, to be their new Horsemen of Death in 2012's Uncanny Avengers #9. Doctor Strange helped Bob overcome the influence of the Apocalypse Twins by creating a pocket dimension inside Bob's mind called Sentry World. This plan worked really well until the Sentry's old sidekick Scout invaded Sentry World to steal Bob's power. In retaliation, the Sentry bonded with the Void and killed Scout in the 2018 Sentry comics. Reed Richards then advised Bob to go into the Negative Zone to detach from the Void. The Negative Zone is an antimatter dimension that has existed in Fantastic Four stories since 1966. When the Sentry and the Void separated in the Negative Zone, the Void traveled to a new location of the Marvel multiverse. Earth 10,011, also known as the Cancerverse, is the House of the Scourge, a group of villains whose leader is the Void. In the 2019 Annihilation Scourge event, the Sentry briefly bonded with the Silver Surfer to stop an invasion led by the Void. But the only way to get some control over the Void was to make him bond with the Sentry again. The Void remained a part of the Sentry until his encounter with Null in the recent King in Black event. The creator of the symbiotes split Bob's body in half and completely absorbed the Void, which makes sense considering the Void probably came from Null's realm of nothingness. In fact, Null often refers to himself as the Void. The Sentry's alter ego could be a fraction of Null or of the Abyss from which he comes from. In response, Mayor Fisk assembled a new Thunderbolts team to retrieve both parts of the Sentry's body ripped in half. Fisk had hopes of using Bob's body as a bomb against Null, who was invading New York City. Then, the Sentry's corpse was acquired by the Blasphemy Cartel to be used as a vessel for 100 million insane ghosts. The Sentry was last seen in 2023, with Jane Foster taking Bob's soul to the afterlife, while Sorcerer Supreme Clea and Doctor Strange shielded his corpse from being invaded by other spirits or used for any evil motives. The Sentry comics were softly rebooted at this point, and the next series goes on to establish a new character who uses the alias. After Robert Reynolds died, ordinary people all over the world began to suddenly manifest his powers and experience snippets of his memories in Sentry Volume 4, Number 1. Ryan Topper emerged as the new Sentry, using the name Ryan Sentry, and started absorbing other individuals who demonstrated Sentry-like powers. So Bob is currently dead in Marvel Comics. But knowing how they work, we wouldn't be surprised if Marvel still finds a way to resurrect the character in the future. The lingering presence of the Sentry, even after Null destroyed him, completely attests to his unique position within the Marvel Universe. This influence hints at the character coming back, especially considering how brief his tenure was in the end when compared to heroes like the Fantastic Four, who have been around and prominent since the 1960s. That's a very complex story, don't you think? Let's leave Ryan Sentry to be discussed in another video and rewind things a bit to better understand who Robert Reynolds was. We've just gone through exactly how the character was included in the Marvel Universe, but do you know just how powerful the Sentry is and how much his powers evolved in time? Saying someone is godlike or has the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns is pretty abstract. Let's quantify Sentry's powers in ways that are easier to understand. The Golden Sentry serum is a lot different from the Super Soldier serum. It creates a phase shift in his molecules, causing the Sentry to become partially out of sync with reality. Sentry's acquired molecular nature allows him to warp reality and reach a hyper state of consciousness. The serum enhanced all of his human abilities like speed and strength and gave him a vast set of superhuman powers. Bob was a smart guy, but the serum gave him a genius intelligence. He became an expert in many fields, including mechanics and architecture, which helped him build the Watchtower himself. Beyond superhuman strength, agility, speed, reflexes, and stamina, the Sentry also has enhanced senses. He's able to detect something from hundreds of miles and from above cloud level. He can completely defy gravity at will, floating or flying at whatever speed he wishes, including the speed of light. On one occasion, he has also shown an ability to teleport in New Avengers Volume 1, number 8. The Sentry is essentially indestructible unless he wishes to die. He survives in extreme atmospheric conditions and vacuum. He doesn't need to eat, sleep, or use the bathroom, being entirely self-sustainable. He doesn't age, never becomes ill, and has an extremely powerful healing factor. He is healed from a bullet to the head and from the Molecule Man turning him into liquid in Dark Avengers Volume 1, number 10 to 13. Unlike the Molecule Man, the Sentry doesn't have full control of his reality warping abilities, but even limited, he's still nearly omnipotent. He can build various constructs of matter or light, and even create sentient beings by rearranging molecules. This power to rearrange living cells also works in mysterious ways, like when Bob spontaneously cured a girl in a vegetative state in Sentry Volume 2, number 6 to 8. He can even resurrect himself and others, though not at will. That's already a lot of power, right? But it doesn't stop there. Since he controls light, he can turn invisible. The Sentry absorbs energy from anything to boost his powers, but his main source of energy is the sun. And just like he absorbs, he can also share energy from his body. He can pass part of his powers to other people or enhance their natural ones. He can also access people's minds in various degrees, not always at will. He can calm down the Hulk back to being Bruce Banner, and he can transfer his memories to other people. He has almost no weakness, although the existence of the Void itself weakens him. Since the Sentry ultimately merged with the Void, he became even stronger, to the point of being considered the most powerful superhuman on Earth, as seen in Sentry Volume 3. Since he manipulates matter, the Sentry is only vulnerable to antimatter. This means he is the weakest when he is in the negative zone. With so much power, Marvel had to limit the Sentry somehow, and his lack of control over his own powers was a great way to do it. Now you're probably wondering, how will all of this comics history fit into the MCU? From the Thunderbolts footage released so far, we know Bob is found in a lab. It seems like his origin story as an addict who takes the wrong drug when breaking in will stay the same. The Thunderbolts' first mission may be checking out a break-in, leading them to Bob. Having just taken the Golden Sentry serum, he won't be able to control his powers. The plot theory for the movie is that the team fights Bob as he turns into both the Sentry and the Void. After regaining self-control, he erases his existence from Earth by the end. Another possibility is that Thunderbolts is set long after Bob took the serum, and it starts with everyone already having forgotten he exists and now needing to remember. Either way, one thing that fans do hope to see is the Sentry becoming a member of the Avengers after this encounter with the Thunderbolts. The Sentry is such an interesting character in the Marvel lexicon that it seems like such a shame to kill him off after only one project, right? As we've mentioned, Bob was in the Avengers for a long time in Marvel Comics. He may be introduced battling the Void and Thunderbolts, but we think he should return later to face other cosmic-level threats. He could go up against Doctor Doom and even Galactus. It's probable that the MCU will explore the idea of the Sentry gradually recovering his memories. The Void, however, can always be used as a narrative reason to take the Sentry off the franchise at any point. Having a vulnerable state of mind, we could see Bob being manipulated into the Void by Valentina in Thunderbolts, and later again by Doctor Doom. There's also speculation that Marvel might edit Bob's powers to fit within the current MCU power levels. While the comics portray him as virtually omnipotent, the movies may introduce a limitation or weakness to keep things more balanced. For example, instead of consuming more serum than he needed to due to his addiction, Bob could need to keep taking the serum to keep his strength.
I'm Bob.
Who sent you, Bob?
Nobody. You were all sent?
The Thunderbolts film is a defining moment for the MCU, setting up the future of the franchise. People have grown complacent, and Captain America hasn't quite reinvigorated interests. Who knows if this Thunderbolts film can do any better? Will the Sentry make a difference? Regardless of how Marvel adapts him, the Sentry's debut could change everything. What do you think? Should the Sentry be a major player in more projects of the multiverse saga, or should he remain a one-off character in Thunderbolts? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time, thanks for watching CBR.